Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of FIF TV. It's me, your host Dov, back again. You must be getting sick of me by now, but today I'm not joined by my usual cohort, Nicholas Carroll. I've actually got Federico with me to talk about transfers and calcio and stuff like that. Vieri, welcome.
Hello Dov, hello everybody. It's a pleasure to be here.
And obviously you've had a little bit of a holiday relaxing on the beach, and obviously now you must be raring to go and to get into the world of calcio.
Well, just a little bit. I mean, all I'm going to say is Bonucci to Milan. Who could have thought that?
Let's get into it then. We're going to talk about Juve and what's going on there. And let's talk about Bonucci, because he is the guy, he's the lead, or was the leader of that Juventus team. And a Juventino, and a guy that you just kind of thought, this guy embodies Juventus. This is what Juventus are all about. And now he's gone and joined Milan. So I mean, Vieri, can you let us know what's going on there, why that's happened?
Well, clearly there were problems in the changing room. There's absolutely no other reason, especially considering he moved to a Serie A club and not abroad. You know, abroad it could have been almost like, I want to win a Champions League, I want a different challenge. I moved to the Premier League, I moved to Manchester City, I moved to Chelsea. Fair enough. But moving to AC Milan, yes, there is the challenge of showing he can win with another club. Definitely there's a component of that. He stays near his family. That's probably why he chose to stay in Italy. But it's also, you know, a rival of Juventus. He loses that kind of, you know, as you said, being a Juventini and being a leader. And it's, you know, incredible. But let's go back to what I started off with. And it is something happened in the changing room. Something between him and Allegri.
So, what happened? Tell us all.
Only rumors. Nobody knows anything.
But don't say that. Tell us what we think happened.
What we think happened is that there was probably a fight at halftime in Cardiff between him, Barzagli, Dybala, Mandzukic. These are the names that have come up in reports. But what we definitely know is that he was suspended for a game by the club itself when he was left out of the game against Porto in the round of 16 of the Champions League. So that's a fact, and that's not just a rumor. So there clearly wasn't something, you know, so perfect between him and Allegri. And I think what the club did was, well, we are Juventus. We are bigger than any single player. And we saw that in the past with players like even Del Piero, where he was told, you know, you have to end your career, and he did it. So Juve is a very strong club. There's big rules, clear rules, and Bonucci was almost forced to leave. He clearly probably wanted to leave as well. And there you go.
So essentially, what the club have done then, they've chosen Allegri over Bonucci. Obviously, Dani Alves was involved in this as well, but he was on Bonucci's side, and both of them have now left the club. So essentially what they've done is they've given a vote of confidence, and the player who's rumoured to be attacked by both, which was Paulo Dybala, and Barzagli was also involved trying to stick up for Dybala. So it looks like that Juve have chosen Allegri over the other.
Yeah, I think from a pragmatic point of view, there's a matter of age. Dani Alves was probably at his last season. Bonucci is over 30 as well. Dybala is someone who, if he stays at the club, you know, he's 24 now. He can only improve. His value can only improve. So there's a component of that. And there's just a clear component of Juventus being, look, if you don't follow the rules, you're out. It doesn't matter if you're Bonucci, you know, someone who became probably the most, you know, expensive and interesting defender on the transfer market for any other club worldwide after 6 Scudettos in a row, and what he's done with the national team as well. But yeah, you know, he's gone. He's gone, and Juve have people to replace him. Maybe not at the same level.
Before we got into that, I want to kind of see why he's moved to Milan, because obviously he did have a few offers to go abroad. I mean, Man City and Chelsea had offered about 55 and 60 million for him, which is obviously a lot more than Milan were willing to pay. So what specifically about this deal going to Milan? Why is he there? Why has he ended up there?
Apparently it's just a family, you know. He wanted to stay close to his kids and his wife, and it seems easy to say, you know, moving abroad, going to a city like Manchester, which is very different to an Italian city. I would have understood maybe London is a bit more international, but what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of human components nobody ever considers about footballers. but they're there obviously, and I think that's the main reason. Alongside the fact that AC Milan right now are a club that it's interesting to go to because he can really be the leader. He's been given the captain armband. He becomes the big boss. Whereas at Juve, there's a lot of players like that.
Exactly. Well, if you want to go and think about what we think about Milan and Bonucci from a Milan point of view, you can go and find that on the channel as well. I did that a few days ago, and I'll probably put a link in the description as well. So there you go. Right, so looking at Juve without Bonucci, you've got Rugani there, who's been touted as one of the guys who's going to step up and replace him. And obviously he's a supremely talented guy. They've obviously got Benatia permanently, who was on loan last season but didn't feature too much as well. Then they also have the option of kind of bringing forward the transfer of Mattia Caldara from Atalanta, although Atalanta have said this isn't going to happen. So how do you see the defence lining up then for Juve? Obviously also given that they've lost Dani Alves, who was arguably their best player last season.
Well, let's start from the fact that Allegri will definitely go for four at the back. There's no going back to three at the back now. It could happen randomly, but he wants a four at the back system. So that means you need less central defenders number-wise. And I think Rugani is a definitely very good prospect. Chiellini and Barzagli are still there. They're like the safe pillars to go back to when someone's struggling a little bit. But I think he's going to try and get Caldara, if he does come early, and Rugani to become the two main centre-backs with Benatia, Benatia didn't feature a lot last season, and he is a bit prone to injuries, but he's a player who at Roma was considered the best defender in Serie A for that season. So, we're not talking like Juve have big issues at the back.
So you think that the departure of Bonucci, they won't really feel the effect of it then?
I think they will from a leadership point of view, and also because Bonucci, from a purely defensive perspective, probably is worse than Barzagli and Chiellini, but from a technical point of view, he was almost like an added regista, an all-style libero, someone who not only defends but also restarts the play. And they might suffer that. They'll have to find other solutions in terms of that.
Some of the solutions, not defensively, but have been brought in, not defensively, but like say, we've got in Douglas Costa, who's coming for a 6 million loan with the option to purchase for 40 million as well. And they've also signed Matteo De Sciglio from Milan for 12 million, I think, and Szczesny's coming from Arsenal after being on loan at Roma last season, who's going to be playing backup to Buffon as well. So let's talk about Douglas Costa then. So this is the marquee signing this season, or this summer, for Juventus. And I think getting him in, that frees up Mandzukic a little bit to move away from that kind of left wing role where he was kind of shunted out last season. Did fantastically well, but this means he can play more of a normal striking role, if you like, as maybe a backup to Higuain or alongside Higuain. And I think it gives Allegri a lot more options and being able to move players around in different positions with Cuadrado as well, and Dybala and also Higuain, like I mentioned. So how do you think it'll all work out?
Well, I think he's someone who's shown immense qualities. What he's lacked maybe is a bit of consistency, playing time at Bayern Munich, which is why a club like Bayern Munich can afford to let him go to a rival club like Juventus. I don't think, if he was playing the whole time at Bayern Munich, the fee would have been double that. But he's someone Juve have invested a lot of money and time in, and it shows, first of all, that Allegri will go on with his system, the current one, 4-2-3-1. So you need a lot of alternatives that can play anywhere behind the number 9. It probably says they're not going to go to find another centre forward. It's going to be Higuain with the backup Mandzukic, who will obviously keep on playing on the left if needed. And I think it's now a matter of seeing if Juve really complete the Bernardeschi deal and if Cuadrado will remain or not. They might want to keep the Colombian because he could play as right back as well if needed. But Douglas Costa, he brings a quality that no one really had apart from maybe Dybala, that ability to dribble the first man, do it rapidly, serve assists, go for goal. He's a really complete player that can play anywhere behind Higuain and gives Juve that added value, that kind of Brazilian imprevedibility. But again, Consistency. I'm not sure he can be very good over 40, 50 games in one single season. So I understand the enthusiasm, but if he was that good, he probably would have costed more considering the experience he already has in the Champions League and in the Bundesliga.
Well, there you go. If he was that good, he would have cost more. Juventino, what do you think of that? Leave a comment below, let us know what you think. So, if people can see behind you, you've got a little affiliation for Fiorentina. And I know when we were talking about the Euros, we spoke about Federico Bernardeschi, and you were quite harsh then. And obviously this transfer going through, I mean, do you think he's a guy that can come alive at Juve, or do you think this is a bit of a risk, given that he's going to cost 40 million euros? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think he's a player that, if he is going to come alive, it will be at Juventus, because Juventus is that kind of club that, you know, if you follow the rules, as we were mentioning earlier, you will develop fully. The problem is there is no time at Juve. You know, they have to win immediately. It's not like a Fiorentina where he could take breaks and for a month not show up. And if you did watch every single game last season, yes, you look at his numbers, he scored a lot of goals, he's delivered a lot of assists, but within the single game, he would disappear for large chunks. You can't really do that at Juve. And within the season, he did disappear for whole games where people are asking themselves, you know, is Bernardeschi alive? And I think that happened at the Euros as well. He was the leader, especially against Spain. But in the first 3 games, yeah, he scored against Germany. Although, I mean,
fortunate,
it wasn't. Yeah, it was a bit of a lucky goal. But you know, he's not got that consistency. That as like that for Douglas Costa at Juventus, you're expected that to start off with. Then you have to deliver with goals and assists regularly. He's young. He's got a lot of space and time to develop. But I think he still might have needed a bit more time in a smaller club to make that final step. If Juve give him that time, and Juve do have other options, they're not going to depend entirely on Bernardeschi. You see, if he had gone to a club like Inter, where he would have been probably, you know, given the title of, you know, savior, we need you to make a difference, I think he would have definitely failed. At Juve, if he's given a bit of time to develop, and we've seen how Allegri deals with young players in the past seasons with Dybala, Morata, giving the youngster the time to really fit into the squad. If he's given that time, then Bernardeschi can do well. I still think he'll never reach that top player level that a lot of the media expect him to reach.
And just quickly then, before we finish up, what about the deal for Schick for Sampdoria? I mean, that was about 25 million, but then that's been cancelled at the last minute. Did Juve counter everything? So Juve obviously pulled out of it. So what happened there?
Well, apparently he's got a physical problem to do with his heart that Sampdoria says he'll recover within a month, 2 months, but according to Juventus, it's too much of a gamble to spend that much money on a player who, yes, is young. For what he's shown, doesn't even cost that much. We're talking about 25 million euros, which what we've seen recently is not a big sum. But Juve don't want to make that gamble, as we were saying. Inter might step up and do it. So it's not like Schick is bound to stay at Sampdoria or, you know, stop playing football at all. But Juve have decided not to make this investment. And looking at Juventus as how serious they are in doing their business, how solid they are as a club, I would tend to trust them. You know, there probably is something that isn't ideal with Schick. From a technical point of view, he's a great player. But this is why the deal didn't go through, even though he's had his medical. And that's when they found out, you know, he's not quite in the best possible shape.
There we go. So that's why that's not happened. Last thing, obviously Juventus have lost a big guy in defence, but there have been a few good signings, Douglas Costa, Bernardeschi, especially in the forward areas as well. Szczesny's as a backup, De Sciglio's there, probably as a backup to Lichtsteiner, maybe, depending if he stays or not. I still think Juve are the team to beat. You've seen over the last 6 years, they've just been head and shoulders above everybody else. And even with this transfer window, which some say has maybe not been their best, I think they've done some good signings, made some good signings. And even though Milan have done lots of wheeling and dealing, Inter have made a couple of signings. Roma have kind of went back and forward with players moving in and out. So Obviously, Napoli, they've kind of remained stable, I would say. I mean, so how do you think then, given all that, with the likes of Milan, Roma, Inter, Napoli, do you think anybody can give them a real challenge this season?
I see Roma, I think, has probably changed too much. I don't have a lot of faith in Roma, but obviously we're facing Milan bringing in that kind of player like Bonucci, that level, Biglia. If they do sign a centre forward like Belotti, then they need to try and win the Scudetto. It's a must. But Juventus, are talking about a club with the continuity for 6 years. They are always going to be the team to beat. The ones I see closest to them are Napoli for what they've shown in the second part of last season, and because they're staying exactly the same. If they can replicate a whole season at their best football, which isn't easy because having alternatives is crucial, and I don't think they've bought anyone quite at the level of their starting 11 yet. Obviously, we're talking mid-July. There's still a long time to go in the transfer window. But I would put behind Juve, still the team to beat, Napoli, AC Milan, then Roma, and then Lazio and Inter.
Lazio?
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Right, so that's us done a little bit on Juve. Let us know what you thought, or what you think about Juve. How do you think they'll get on? How do you think Bonucci's departure is going to affect them in the next season? Just leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Also, if you've not done already, support us on Patreon, because that means we can do more of these, and obviously going into the new season, and it looks like it's going to be an exciting season in Serie A. Obviously, we want to bring you as much as possible. Vieri, could you tell the people where they can find you on the social media?
Yeah, find me on Twitter at Vieri Capretta. That's my handle.
And he's also got a Facebook page too.
I do also have a Facebook page. Same.
So you can
name and
search
surname
on there as well. Right, so that's us done for you. If you've not already, check out our Inter videos, our Milan video, Roma video. It should be in the side bit. So other than that, there's nothing else left for me to say apart from arrivederci.
Ciao.